Hey y'all, welcome to the very first episode of the Girl Meets Pets podcast. This podcast is going to be about pets and about pet care and just all things animals. It is definitely a podcast for all of you animal lovers out there, and I really hope you enjoy it. If you don't know who I am, my name is Georgia. I do animal education over on TikTok, which is where most of you are probably coming from. And I started this podcast to do more in detail talks about what I talk about over on my TikTok. On this podcast, we are going to talk about not just animals and pet care, but we are going to be talking about some controversial topics as well in the animal world. And we're going to talk about trends that we see on social media involving pets. In today's episode, we are going to talk about my story, kind of where I come from, why I love animals, and just the story of how I got to where I am today, having 65 animals. My story starts way back 8 years ago when I got my betta fish named Leo. Leo was a red betta fish. I believe he was a half moon betta, and he was just the animal that started it all for me. So basically, I got this fish named Leo, I guess one day. I don't remember exactly how it happened, but I just woke up and decided that I wanted a pet. So I asked my parents and they ended up being okay with it. So I got a pet betta fish. I'm pretty sure I probably saw a YouTube video on betta fish and was like, this is interesting. I think I'm going to get one. And so I did, and I really didn't expect to fall in love with a fish like I did, and then eventually fall in love with animals and animal care the way I did. So yeah, it's kind of a crazy journey. So basically, I got this fish and I quickly noticed that he is not a normal fish that, just eats food and then goes about swimming around his tank. He was very engaged with what I was doing, what everyone else was doing, and just the things that were happening around him. I remember distinctly one time whenever he would literally wait for me to get home, and when I would walk into my room, he would be waiting there by the glass that was closest to my bedroom door, and he would just swim back and forth and wait for me to come over there and say hi. And I was like, wow, this is insane. This is a fish. And it was just the coolest thing ever. Something that I actually started doing because I realized how smart he was I actually started teaching him tricks with the help of some YouTube videos. I taught him how to jump for treats and to flare and that kind of thing. And it was super cool. And yeah, just something that he's just this fish that will always be in my heart, and the animal that kind of started it all for me. And I can't even tell you how much I miss this fish. All the time, I'm like, I should just get a betta fish. But then I remember that not every fish is going to be like Leo. So that's how I talked myself out of that one. But yeah, that's basically the animal that started it all for me. And then whenever I really started just loving Leo and really I really just wanted to hold him. But you can't hold a fish. That's dangerous for you and the fish, really, but mostly the fish. And so I was like, I can't do that, but I really want an animal that I can hold and I can pet and I can love. Keep in mind, I already had 2 dogs at this point, so it wasn't like I didn't have any other pets. I just wanted a pet of my own that I can hold, and that was Fluffy. So I realized that I wanted this pet, and my mind automatically went to hamster, even though I knew nothing about hamsters. For some reason, it went to hamster. So I asked my dad, I was like, hey, do you think I could get a hamster? And he was like, probably not a hamster. Hamsters are quite small and you'd probably lose it or something. So I was like, you're probably right. But he was like, maybe a guinea pig. And we were kind of jokingly having this conversation, him thinking that I wasn't really serious about it, but I was. And so we even were Googling little pictures of guinea pigs, and it was really funny. But I was super serious, so I decided to go and do a bunch of research on guinea pigs, look at those guinea pig care channels, and learn all about guinea pigs. So I did, and I ended up making a PowerPoint presentation and writing 2 letters to my parents, one for each of them, about their care and just why I should have a guinea pig. Literally, I titled the presentation "Why Georgia Should Have a Guinea Pig," and I presented the presentation. I gave them each individual letters on why I should have the guinea pig and why it would benefit them to have the guinea pig. I was very serious about this, and I knew my dad would probably be on board with it because he's also an animal lover, so I just figured it would be fine. But my mom, on the other hand, would be kind of difficult to win her over on that because, of course, all moms are usually worried about the smell and worried about that kind of thing. What's funny is I actually was already ready for any questions that they might have had. I was so ready for it. I had already even made slides about potential questions that they may have had and already answered them. I talked about cost, I talked about everything, and it was amazing. And I still have the presentation, and I think I've shown my YouTube channel that, so hop on to my YouTube channel if you want to see that. But it was amazing. I'm still very proud of it to this day. Long story short, I was so cute and so convincing that I got a guinea pig named Bella. And my parents made me wait a week just to make sure that I actually wanted the guinea pig. And I did. So we went on a Friday night to the pet store and we got all of the things we needed for the guinea pig. We got the smallest cage, we got the worst food, and just all the terrible things you could have for a guinea pig. And we also only got one guinea pig. And if you're familiar with guinea pig care, you know that's a big no-no. They are herd animals and they need friends. But yeah, honestly, I knew about proper care. I just really wanted a guinea pig, but I was a kid. I was in 6th grade. So, I forgive myself for that one. But basically, I got my guinea pig. I named her Bella. And yeah, I had a guinea pig. I loved her. And we just had the best time. And then I kind of told my parents, like, well, this isn't the best care for Bella. And because, they got to know this guinea pig, they were like, yeah, we need to update her care. I don't even think she was in that cage for a week. Like, it was less than a week, maybe even a few days. And when I was like, Mom, Dad, this cage is not good for her. And so we ordered the Midwest guinea pig cage for her. And plus, honestly, those pet store cages just don't look good in your home. They look terrible. And like, even when people come over, you're like kind of embarrassed because you're like, this looks like a torture device for a guinea pig. But anyway, I got the Midwest cage and I set it up really nice. And yeah, she was just living her best life as a single guinea pig. And then one day we went to the pet store to get more guinea pig food, and we saw Daisy, my guinea pig, and I was like, hey, Dad, she kind of looks like Chandler from Friends, knowing that my parents love Friends. I was like, with her little like hairstyle like that, isn't that so funny? And my dad was like, yeah, let me show your mom. And so I basically was like, yeah, we should get another guinea pig. And my parents were like, no, we're not getting another guinea pig. Long story short, they went to run errands later that day and ended up swinging by PetSmart and surprising me with Daisy. So, yeah, that was really fun. And I was definitely really excited. I had a feeling they would do that, though, because I was like, there is no way I just compared that guinea pig to Chandler from Friends and then they're not gonna get it. But anyway, they brought home Daisy to me, and then I started the bonding process with my guinea pigs, which honestly they did super well. It only took about a week to bond them, and yeah, I have had no issues. And then a few years later, I think it was like a year and a half later, maybe 2 years later, we got Oliver, who is our neutered male. And so yeah, that's my little story of how I got my first 4 animals. Yeah, I love my guinea pigs so much. They're actually sitting like right next to me in their giant CNC cage, because when you have more than 2 guinea pigs, you have to upgrade to a CNC cage usually. So yeah, and then the next animal I got was chickens, and I did that because I started joining 4-H because I love animals. And I live in Texas, by the way, if you don't know that. I live in Texas, and there's not a lot of like animal lover clubs, I guess, and so the only thing that you can really join is 4-H. And as you know, with 4-H, that goes along with FFA and showing animals and things like that, which is another thing that I'm really into that most people don't really know about. And so basically I got into chickens, and I just started off with like a basic like egg to chick project that turned into us having now probably 40 something chickens. So yeah, so we started egg to chick, and when the first birds that hatched was my rooster Hurley, who sadly has passed away at this point. But Hurley was just the best rooster, like the best rooster. I haven't been able to recreate him, even though I try so hard, always trying to get his offspring to have more offspring so that I can maybe get one rooster that acts just like he did. But so we hatched out those 2 roosters. The other rooster's name was Curly. Curly had a crazy life story that I would love to tell. It was a short life, but a crazy life for a chicken. And then we got a few hens as Hurley and Curly were growing up in their little brooder. We got 3 hens, and we currently only have 1 hen of those original 3 hens, and that would be Leia. But yeah, we had our little flock, and then we just kept adding more. As you do when you get chickens, you just keep adding more. And then I got into actually showing chickens, and I took, my basic backyard chickens that, if you're familiar with chicken showing, you can't just bring any chicken into a chicken show. It has to be a fancy bird. So, yeah, I did that. They basically laughed at me, and then we went out and we bought 3 modern game birds, which are the coolest little birds ever. A lot of people are shocked when they see them. They're like, what is that? Like, is that a chicken? And I've got some people who actually are scared of them, so it's actually really funny. But yeah, so I actually currently show chickens, and I probably always will go to chicken shows because they're just so fun. But a lot of people confuse chicken showing with like chicken showing and then them going to slaughter, and that is definitely not the case. Chicken showing is all about like fancy breeds, so animals you definitely don't want to process afterwards because they're fancy birds and they're not meant for meat. So yeah, that's my type of chicken showing. It's fancy breeds, and it's more like a dog show where you go in and you place them in a pen, in a coop as they call it, and they basically have a judge that comes around, looks at your bird, and compares that bird to the rest of the birds in its class. And yeah, it's a really fun experience. And then since I am under 18, well, yeah, I'm under 18, you get to do what's called showmanship as well. If you choose to, you can I could also be in the adult show right now if I wanted to, but I kind of like hanging out with the kids for as long as I can, because it's a little bit easier, because you would be surprised at how serious adults are that are in these chicken shows are about chicken shows. So, yeah, I'm going to stay with the kids as long as I possibly can. But, yeah, and then there's showmanship, and showmanship is basically where you show your knowledge of chickens and their care, and which is like the best competition for me. I love chickens. And so I used to know way more, but since I haven't been able to show in a while, like show the way I used to in a while, it's been tough to keep up that knowledge. But yeah, I used to be super competitive about it, and I knew everything about my chickens, and I actually won a belt buckle. This is very serious if you live in Texas. Like, if you live in Texas, well, really any of the southern states, that belt buckles are like a huge thing. So I won a belt buckle, and that was a really proud moment for me because, you feel very accomplished if you win a belt buckle. So yeah, that is chicken showing 101, basically a huge part of my story and why I have so many animals. But yeah, then let's move on to the next animal I got, which is the leopard geckos. So leopard geckos aren't technically mine. So they're actually my brother's. So my brother saw me getting all these animals, and he was just so jealous that he had to go get leopard geckos, which I was not into reptiles, if I'm honest. Like, I thought they were cool, but from afar. Like, I've never been like, one to go run outside and pick up like a lizard or anything. So I was not really into it, and I didn't know much about them. But he wanted leopard geckos, and so I told my brother, I was like, you better do your research, and then we'll go to the pet store and we'll get you leopard geckos, because my parents can't say no to him and then let me have all these animals, right? So we actually went to a pet store in Austin, that a lot of you, if you live in the Austin area or used to or have ever been to Austin, you probably know about this pet store. It's really amazing. I need to actually tell you guys about them if you live in Texas, because they are just so awesome. But we drove quite a ways to go to this pet store because, again, I knew about proper care, and so I was like, Mom and Dad, let's not go to, like, big chain pet stores. So we went to this small pet store, and it was, of course, awesome. It's always awesome when you go in there. But we had somebody who actually knows about leopard geckos help us out, and that was super cool to find, a pet store worker who actually knows exactly what they're talking about, told us about, like, where these leopard geckos come from and all this different stuff. So we met Zilla, which is my leopard gecko. You guys know this if you follow me on TikTok. But Zilla is I don't even know how old she is now. It's been forever. She might be 5 or 6. Wow, she's so old. Oh my goodness. But so yeah, we have a leopard gecko named Zilla, and we got Zilla that day, got all the stuff we needed for her, and that was my brother's leopard gecko. And then we got Mega because my brother decided that he wanted another one, but he wanted to raise it from a hatchling, and so we got Mega. Mega also has a crazy story. She was shipped to us, and then my brother lost her, and then we found her, and so yeah, it's a whole crazy story. But Mega is our most aggressive gecko. We've had her for years, but she just is very aggressive, and I keep saying she, and I know it's a he. I apologize to Mega for that, but we only recently found out that Mega was a boy, so excuse me for misgendering my leopard gecko. But yeah, so basically my brother had these leopard geckos for a while. He took care of them, I took care of them. We kind of shared that responsibility because animals are my thing. So, if he asked me to do something for him, I'm gonna do it. But yeah, so my brother went to college and was like, yo, would you be willing to take my leopard geckos? Which we had talked about this, like, when we got them, that they'd probably end up being mine in the future anyway. So, yeah, now they're in my room, and they're with me, and they're mine. But obviously, if I ever needed, him to take them back, he could. But, because that's just how it works with animals. You always have that responsibility. But, yeah, and then we actually moved to land because, we have all these animals. We're starting to want to expand on our chickens, maybe get some more livestock. So my parents and I, and really our whole family, made the decision to move to a different town, pretty far from where we used to live, and get land. And we did. We live on an acre, which is not a bunch of land, but it's a lot for people who used to live in the city. And yeah, and we moved here, and I decided to get goats because I've always wanted goats. I actually showed a goat a few years ago for fun because we had an opportunity in my 4-H, and I just loved it so much. I was like, I really want a goat, and I couldn't, obviously, because we lived in the city. So when we got the opportunity, I was like, can I show a goat this year? Well, I'm an animal lover, so I feel like y'all already know how the story pans out. I cannot send my goat to slaughter. I just can't do it. So I actually just was like, we bought goats, and I was like, Dad, I'll just take them to jackpot shows. As of today, we've had our goats for a year, and I've only been to one jackpot show, and now they're like too old to show, probably. I mean, I could probably take them to another jackpot show, but yeah, it just didn't work out. They're basically just really expensive pet goats. So yeah, that's Nova and Dee Dee. If you follow me on TikTok or Instagram, that is Nova and Dee Dee. Those are my goats. But yeah, so then we got the goats, and we moved into our new house, and which I love it here. It's amazing. Like, I absolutely love it. It's just so peaceful. Like, no one tells you about how peaceful it is in the country, but it is so peaceful. It's amazing, and I love it. But yeah, so we have, at this point, this is literally probably like, I don't even know, like 6 to 10 months ago, we had chickens, we had goats, we had the guinea pigs and the leopard geckos, and I feel like I'm forgetting something. Oh yeah, and our dogs, of course. And I randomly, like I always do, just want more animals. And I go on Craigslist a lot, and I'm like, ooh, let's look at all the animals and stuff. And I saw this little Kenyan sand boa, and I was like, wow, like I kind of want a snake. And so I talked to my parents about it, and we talked about it for a while, and like a really long while. And basically, we were like, yeah, it'd be really cool to have a snake. Like, we could be those people. And we ended up getting Reggie, and that has been kind of a journey because, you know, owning a snake, you think owning a snake is one way, but it's actually another. But he's been really easygoing. We just had a little bump in the road with him eating. But, you know, he was probably just nervous being moved around and all that. And now he's fine and does completely fine with, you know, feeding and everything. But yeah, we got Reggie, and he is super sweet. He's a Kenyan sand boa. Once again, if you want to see any of my animals, go follow me on any of my social medias. I'm on Instagram, I'm on Twitter, I'm on Facebook, I'm on TikTok. I'm on YouTube as well, all under Girl Meets Pets. So yeah, go follow me on my socials if you want to see these animals and what they look like. But yeah, we got Reggie. He is the sweetest snake ever. Like, I can't even describe Reggie's personality. He's so sweet. He's a little timid sometimes, but he is not snappy or anything. He's just like the perfect snake, and I just couldn't ask for a better snake. He is so sweet. And then we've got the frogs, which I actually got before Reggie, but I always forget about the frogs because it was a very like spur of the moment thing. But yeah, I have my frogs, Kiwi and Croak. Kiwi is kind of my main girl. She's sweet. She's a little frog. And yeah, I love Kiwi so much. She's just like this little thing that has so much personality, and it's so funny. But yeah, that is kind of the story of how I got all these animals. And of course, I've added on chickens, and I've added on goats. And so now I have like 65 animals. I know a lot of people want to hear more about the goats. So real quick, I'll tell you that we have 5 goats. We just got one new goat named Winnie. And then we have Nova, Delilah, and then Archie and Lily. And so we have 5 goats, and they're all so amazing, and I love them so much. And honestly, I'm at a point now where it's like, you know, I have enough. Like, if I want to get more chickens or more goats, that's okay. But I'm not really going to have any more guinea pigs or reptiles or anything like that, just because I just, you know, I'm kind of growing out of that, starting to get more into the livestock scene, and you know, I want cattle and I want horses and all those types of things like that. But of course, you know, I have reptiles, so it's not like they're going anywhere anytime soon. They've all got like 20 years still on them. So but I'm just saying that I probably won't get any more, but you also never know with me. So yeah, but my guinea pigs are now 7 years old. Oliver's a little bit younger, so he's like 6 or 5 years old. I have to go look. But yeah, all my animals are getting older, and yeah, that's basically where I'm at now. Then I started my TikTok, I think almost a year and a half ago, when like just before we moved to the country. And so because we used to live in the city, now we live in the country. So I started my TikTok just before we moved, and I was just making silly videos on there, nothing too crazy. And then I just started, you know, going ahead and full sending, and I made, you know, actual care videos, and I was so scared to be like made fun of or told that I was wrong, even though I knew that I was right. But then I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna go for it, and I'm just gonna go ahead and do it. And so I did, and it had a really great response. People really liked it. And yeah, I started making care videos, all kinds of videos, morning routines, and people loved it. I gained quite a big following. I'm honestly still amazed that I have this many followers on TikTok. And what's funny is, like, my family tells everybody that we meet that I have followers on TikTok. And like, you know, I'm just not a braggy person. I just won't say anything, like, unless I know you really well and I'm gonna tell you how my TikTok's going, but otherwise I'm just not gonna say anything. I remember telling people when I hit 10K, because I thought 10K was just like, it's insane. But right now I have like 63,000 followers on TikTok, which is insane. But I'm just so happy that you guys want to follow me. If you're from TikTok, thank you so much for being here and just supporting me. And it's just so amazing. I love making TikToks, and lately I've been going through like a little bit of a rut with making TikToks, and I think it's just because, like, when you do it consistently, I was making 3 TikToks a day for a year. Like, that's a lot. Like, I didn't skip any days, and if I did, I made up for it. Like, it was just insane. And so I've been trying to, like, kind of pull back a little bit, give myself a little bit of a break. So I've only been posting about 1 to 2 TikToks a day. And then skipping some days if I need it. And honestly, I feel a lot better doing that. But also I'm ready to get back and making 3 to 4 TikToks a day, because it's so fun. But I'm also trying to do this podcast because there are just some things I want to talk about in detail, and 3 minutes is just not long enough for me. So I thought if I did a podcast talking about the animals and talking about just all the things that I want to talk about on TikTok, but I can't necessarily, I could talk about on here. So if y'all have anything you want to talk about in more detail, cage sizes, animal care, a specific animal, I would love to talk about it on here and just talk about the animal's care. But yeah, that is my story, kind of how I got all of my animals, how I got into pet care and researching, and just loving animals. So that kind of catches you up to where I am today with all the animals and everything. Thank you so much for listening to the very first episode of the Girl Meets Pets podcast. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you are ready for next week's episode. Next week, we are talking about pet stores, the good, the bad, and the ugly. I am so excited. I will see you guys next week with another podcast. Bye, y'all.